Here we have the wild sedge. They pop up anywhere. Just a single plant there. I think spring is definitely in the air. The birds are singing. I've seen birds are starting to couple up, or starting to build nests. We're nearly out of winter's grip. Right, so this segment is about deer dogs and tracking deer. You could be shooting in forestry, on the edge of forestry. You could shoot a deer, you can get up and run. Bad shot placement, whatever. Even a good shot placement, sometimes the deer can run. And your deer could run into heavy cover. Now, where there's grass like this, you might be able to follow the blood trail. But if you try and follow the deer on foot into heavy cover like this, where the deer is going to lay up, it's going to want to lay up and rest. And if you go barging into, because you're not going to be able to tiptoe quietly into heavy cover, okay, with gorse, Sitka spruce, heavy brambles, okay, you're going to bump that deer and you're going to drive the deer away from you. The deer might double back 100 yards down and come back. You're not going to find that deer because you're going to make too much noise. You're going to cause the deer more suffering, okay? But if the deer is allowed to run in, rest up, and if you wait for a while, maybe a half an hour, you can see the way Nina is able to go in and work this heavy cover. It's no problem to her. Once you introduce the dog to it from an early age, your dog can go in, it's going to find it million times faster than what you're going to find it. It'll be using a scent cone, it'll be using a blood trail, it's going to use its ears, it's going to use its eyes, and they're a million times sharper than anything a human can do. It's going to find that deer, it'll either hold it at bay or it's going to anchor the deer. And if you have the GPS collar, even if you don't have a GPS collar, the dog will hold it, and you'll be able to finish the job and stop the suffering of the deer. And that's just the way it is. Like heavy cover like that, you need a dog. Now it might be only once, a couple of times that it ever has to be done, but you don't want to go barging in and then just walking out saying, that deer is gone. You need to recover that animal and complete the job. And I know I'm slightly biased towards the Deutsch Drahthaar, but to me they are the best hunting dog out there. And they're the four-wheel drives of hunting dogs, especially if you get the right breeding and bloodlines. As I've said before, you can hunt them forestry, fields, you can hunt them in heavy cover. They will go to it if you introduce them. Mountains, lakes, rivers, whatever. They will do it. But if you're after driving your deer into heavy cover like that, you're going to need a dog. Max keeps looking back. He's pushing up in there a bit now. Sometimes he starts whining when Nina takes off. Here he comes back. Good girl, Nina. Good girl. Good boy, Max. Good boy. So another skill set you can add to your deer dog, especially the Drahthaar, is you don't have to work them on a lead. You can, in my opinion, work them on a collar instead of a harness. I've worked my previous Drahthaar on a harness, and the dogs lean in and drive forward with a harness. And if you have a big, strong deer dog in a harness, you don't want it pulling you through cover. So the collar is a much better option, just my opinion. But make sure it's a tracking collar, that the loop that the lead is attached to has a swivel. It's not fixed, or it's not like a ring on a normal collar. There's a swivel, and it can maneuver with the turns that the dog is making. You can also off lead. You can train the dog, which I've done as well with the previous dog, and I'm doing with Nina as well, is to, let's say you're going up to look at deer up front. You can see deer a couple 100 yards up. You can leave your dog back, put it in the down position, preferably over the sit position, and you can work ahead of the dog. You can maneuver yourself into position, take your shot, and then call your dog up the heel. Okay, so you can also, which you'll see in the video I've done, New Zealand blueprint, you can work the dog on point. So the dog, let's say, is at that rock, and it can move in a circle, like 2 to 5, 10, 5 meters probably enough. You can work them in front of you like that, and they can indicate, use it as an indicating dog, and the Drahthaar will naturally do that if you train it properly, because it will go on point. Same as it's going on point for a pheasant. The Drahthaar will go on point, and you can work it in front of you, the dog in front of you, if you train it that way. So you can work it in front. You can keep it at heel, work it on the long lead, 10, 20, 30 meter lead, or you can leave it behind you. Nina is having a ball today. The rain is coming down heavy now. Come on, good girl. Good girl. She's really in her element here now. Good girl. Just another thing about the versatile hunting breeds, which the Drahthaar is. So you can work them on feather and fur. But you have to remember, it's kind of catch-22 when they're working birds. They will drive out hundreds of yards, and they'll go on point. Whereas at the deer, and it's pretty much full on when they're hunting the birds, hunting cover. With the deer, it's the reversal, it's the opposite. They have to be very calm and relaxed. So you got to nail that training down. And I've made mistakes. The dog didn't make mistakes. I made mistakes with Sika, but I corrected it, and I was able to work her off lead on deer. And once they understand that they're not supposed to push on, they'll just indicate, point deer. She'd hunt all day. Come on, Max. Max. Good boy. Good boy. Another thing, that if you're going to be hunting fur and feather, so you want your dog to push on if it's hunting birds, let's say pheasants. The last thing you want to do is to bombard your dog with obedience, because that can make your dog sticky and it's going to hang around you. Kind of the way Max is, but that I want him like that. But with a bird dog, you want that dog pushing out, searching, looking. Okay, if you get the Drahthaar and you're just going to use it for deer, then you're going to work a lot of obedience. Okay, so the dog is going to have to be able to drop behind or work in front. You're not going to be sending your dog out to push out for hundreds of yards. Now she's just exercising now. So I'm allowing Nina to. But if your sole purpose is to use the Drahthaar for deer, you gotta work a lot of obedience first. So they have to be able to naturally walk at heel, go behind you, maybe in front of you, whatever it is. Okay, so you need to be aware, if you're going to be hunting birds, the dog has to push out. And you don't want to be, like if you're using it as a bird dog, the last thing you're going to do is obedience. This little trough of water here, actually full of frog spawn, or some kind of spawn. No, Max, come out here now.